did that book take to put together, Margaret, just out of curiosity?
I was involved for about 20 years, but it was Mrs. Decker really who originated the idea. And, well, the idea originated with Lady Tweedsmuir, wife of the Governor General. She encouraged the institutes to write village histories, and so that was our entry. Mrs. Decker was involved for a long time, and then I asked her if I could have the project. The projects were being assigned here and there. I asked if I could have that one. And of course she stayed with it too.
Wonderful book. And you got a prize for it, didn't you? Didn't you win?
No, it could have been entered in a competition, but Gordon was one of the judges. Gordon Elliott. So of course it couldn't be entered.
Did you talk with a lot of the native people when you put this together, or was it hard to get information?
Oh, to some of them, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and the records are in the archives.
Because we've been interviewing some of the old-time Mount Currie people.
Have
It's
you?
sort of
Good.
fun to listen to their stories too.
I remember interviewing one man on the train going up to Lillooet. Heard all kinds of interesting things.
Can you remember any of them?
No, I can't at the moment. As I say, it's in the archives in Pemberton.
What about the outdoor school that Slim helped start? That must have been a huge undertaking.
Yeah, it was great. It meant travels to Victoria to interview the government, and Slim was surprised when they agreed to help very much. I forget the extent.
What year was that sort of that he started doing that?
I can't remember. How long has Dolores Franz-Lost been in the valley? Because she came in to teach there very early. I guess she was the first person in charge.
Like about 20-something years ago, would it be?
At least.
Yeah.
Oh, more than that.
More than that. 25 years.
Maybe
25?
1970s, maybe.
Where did Slim come from originally?
Piteå in Sweden. He was born in Ronayne, which isn't far removed, and Piteå is at the head of the Gulf of Bothnia.
So how old was he when he came out?
Slightly over 20.
Did he come to Pemberton?
He had been working up the coast a bit, and he was at a cafe in Vancouver, and somebody came in and said that there were some jobs available in Pemberton. Well, it was a job in a mill. It was, anyway, he took the job even though he didn't know where Pemberton was, and he had no idea just what the job would be. Anyway, the mill went broke after a while. Then he went trapping, prospecting.
So what year did you meet Slim or marry
Well, it was
Slim?
probably in 1929 when I went in there to teach.
Okay. So you were a teacher was Bussy Pomeroy a teacher then?
At the same time,
Okay.
yes. Yes, she would drive down from the Greens home to the lower school, as we call it, and starting in living at Greens, I was next door to the school.
Oh, you lived at Greens to begin with?
Yeah.
I didn't know
That's
that.
your grandparents-in-law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, I did, yes. Until Christmas, and then the Pemberton Middle School was finished. So we moved to school, and I moved my boarding place.
And where was the Meadows School?
Well, the Outward Bound.
Oh, okay. Outward
It has still the main building is the old school.
So how many years did you teach there?
1 year.
Oh.
I think Bussy was the next teacher there.
But you weren't married to Slim yet?
Oh no,
Yeah.
not till 1939.
And what about Bertha? Was she in Pemberton already?
No, she came in after me, but not many years later, probably after Bussy had finished teaching in the Upper Valley School.
So we haven't come up to when you met Slim yet.
Well, it might have been at a dance. There was it was called a box social. Ever heard of it?
Yes, yes, I remember those.
A box social when the lower school was opened, and the women would take boxes which would be bid on by the men attending. And, well, no, I didn't meet Slim right then. I think I was sitting with Bussy in the back of the Greens pickup, and he came and jiggled the back of the truck, I think. I think that was my meeting.
So then you lived in Pemberton permanently once you married Slim, right?
Well, no, for a little more than a year, and then he enlisted in the army
Okay.
and was away for 3 years and 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we moved back in 1945,
Back to Pemberton.
back to Pemberton, yes.
And where did you live then when you moved back?
We lived, the Lundgrens offered us the use of what was called the barber house, the log house, on what was Lundgren property for a long time.
Where's
I
the
don't know
barber
who
house?
owns it now.
Which one was the
Is
barber
that near
house?
the
Where Lundgren used to live, yeah.
near the trailer
Right across,
court now?
around the,
Yes.
or a court.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think the trailer court
Was part.
land
Yeah.
might have been Lundgren's at one time.
Yeah, I
It
think-
was.
Yes.
It was.
Yeah, I know that area. So you lived there to begin with?
Yes, for 2 years, and we had a crop there. I can remember the field of turnips. Lundgrens were generous. And then we acquired the property, which is now Gilmore's,
Mm-hmm.
and built a little house, which I think is still standing.
It's a little tilted a bit, but it's still there.
Which house is that?
Young Chad, Doug's son Chad is living in it.
Oh, that used to be, what a cute house.
Pardon?
I know that house. That's a cute house.
Little red
Yeah,
one.
well, it was all we needed.
Mm-hmm.
And then we sold to Gilmore's, of course.
And then where did you move from there?
Well, we built the house that now belongs to
Marilyn Ross?
the Rosses, yeah, Marilyn and
Brian.
Brian.
Brian, yeah. I think they changed it a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
And that was in the 50s when the Gilmores came into the valley, wasn't it? Or was it that early?
It probably was. 45, 50s. I don't know how many years we were
What
there.
year?
Farming. It was very hard on Slim because he had rheumatoid arthritis,
Mm-hmm.
and it was time for him to retire from farming.
Mm-hmm. So that's when he was looking around at the outdoor school?
Well, he was on the school board. I had been earlier, and he thought he'd like to be on the school board too, and he ran, and so we were there together. I don't think there was any regulation against it, but anyway, the superintendent wanted me to drop out and teach in the high school, so I did that.
And where was the high school then? Is that the old rec center?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you taught a lot in your lifetime.
Oh, 20-some years, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Sporadically, maybe.
So how did they get the outdoor school started? They must have had, the government must have been interested.
Well, they were made to be interested, I think. I know Slim did a lot of traveling to Victoria and meeting the Minister of Education, and they agreed to be involved, which of course helped. I can't remember the details of how they helped.
And what about the land where all those old buildings are?
Well, was it the Soloway, the name of the owner of that land? Yes. He sold it. That was so required.
About 1974,
That he sold it?
I think so.
Was it?
Because we bought his cows.
Did you?
Oh.
Down
Things
Galway.
are linked.
Yeah, was that 74, wasn't it? We bought his cows.
And did Slim and a whole lot of people build all those little cabins that are on that? Or a few people? Or Or did he build them all himself? All those little
Oh, Slim
cabins?
didn't know.
No.
Uh,
George worked on one of them,
Uh-huh.
the log cabins.
School
the,
board built the houses.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the buildings, of course, were moved there. There was the old school from the lower valley was moved up there, and I think there was another building moved from the Arn place, but I could be wrong.
And then the rest
It's
were
quite
all
possible.
constructed with volunteer work and stuff.
I don't know if it was volunteer.
Oh,
No, the school board paid.
okay, well that's good.
Anyway, it was,
It's quite an amazing thing
yeah, it was,
now when you look back on it.
yes,
All that was accomplished.
yes. And all the animals, chickens.
Yeah. What about where the animals were? Was that an old farm? Like there's a barn there, or was that newly constructed, or was that part of Soloway's too?
Across the road,
Yeah, across the road.
that was built afterwards, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That was all solid.
Oh, it was the
I'm
lake
sure
and
it was,
everything there,
Was
yeah.
I mean, the barn?
The whole area was, even Oxbow Lake, that was
I
all
know,
solid
but
property.
there was a new building built there, wasn't there?
School board built that.
Yeah, the school board built that
Barn.
The barn,
Yep.
did they?
Mm-hmm.
across the road, yeah.
Now you'd never get something like that off the ground nowadays. There's no
No,
money
of
for
course
anything
not.
like that.
They don't have enough money for enough textbooks even.
Yeah.
That is sad.
Yeah, it is.
So you were married right in Pemberton, or did you?
No,
your
we were married
parents-
in the church down here.
Because your parents lived here on Bowen Island.
Yes.
Yeah. So the museum got started with the house of the Chances.
Yes.
That was moved down to that other lot first of all, and then to where it is now.
Yeah,
So were you involved in the museum right from the very beginning?
yeah. It all started with a lunch at our place, I think. Phyllis Chandler, her sister was the public health nurse, wasn't she?
Yes.
And
Cosledge. Leona Cosledge.
yes, yes. Well, Phyllis Chandler and I decided it would be a good idea to have a lunch and invite a representative of every organization. So we had that at my place. I'm not sure if Phyllis was there or not, but we sat there and Shirley Henry took minutes and we decided on the name. I remember somebody saying, do you want his archives as well? So that was included in the name.
So you decided, you had this get together and you decided on the name.
Yes, and probably the minutes are still available.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and then we got the promise, or Slim did actually, from the Oversons of the gift of that house.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got the Sam Jim.
Sam Jim's
Yeah,
in the museum. It's the Sam Jim house, isn't it?
yes, so the Sam Jim house was really in a state of disrepair. Cattle were using it for shelter, but it was brought over the Birkenhead and up to what was then the museum site and repaired. And we got grants to make it possible. And then there's the Barney house. I have a picture of it up there, which Mary Gilmore gave me.
Oh, yeah.
It was over at Darcy, I think, or close to Darcy.
Was he a trapper, Barney?
Very likely, but I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember a lot of the fall fairs that they used to have, Margaret?
I remember some.
Look what we've got in here.
My husband, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yes, he had a lot to do with them.
And your nickname was Marky?
To the Miller connection.
Uh-huh.
Is that mentioned there?
Uh-huh. Says you were married in 1939 and moved into the Taylor farmhouse.
Yes.
Yeah, you can tell this has been a well-used book, but there's no changes in the newer editions, are there? It's just...
Very slight.
Uh-huh.
Having to do with the, Bud Wright, I think, was the representative. Maybe he was a seed potato
Yeah, he's a-
inspector.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bud Wright?
He wasn't an inspector, George.
He was with the
Bud
university.
Wright. Bud Wright.
What about him? Dr. Wright?
Yeah, what did he do? What capacity?
He ran all the,
Well, I guess he was probably, I don't think he was a biologist, no. He was the head of the research department at UBC, I think, potato division.
Yes, well, he made some corrections there which we could discover.
So how did Bertha come into Pemberton? Was she there when you were there at the same time?
Well, you mean teaching or?
Yeah, was she?
No, not at the same time. It was a year at a time.
Did you remember hearing stories of the old Pemberton Trail?
Not very much. I think we have a picture in our book of two women traveling on the trail.
Yeah, I've seen that picture on horseback.
I think that was at the time of railway construction.
Do you and Slim have animals?
Yes, we bought a herd. Did we buy a herd? Of cattle, which we prized. And I think we sold it to an Englishman who came in to work for Bob Taylor. Do you remember? A relative of the Taylors whom everybody trusted.
Kenward?
I think so.
Kenward?
Yeah. But anyway, he had some beautiful furniture, and that piece that's behind Helen was part of it. Anyway, he didn't pay us for the cattle, but we got the furniture, several pieces. We had a cow before that, whom we called Mrs. Friedstrom. We bought her from a man by the name of Friedstrom over somewhere around the Portage.
So what were the other places out? There was, the rancherie was Mount Currie, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They'd call that the rancherie.
We called it that, yeah.
And was there a collection of buildings where
It
the
was
railway?
formerly Creekside.
Oh, before that it was Creekside? Oh,
Yeah, it
and
was Bill Spetch who had the name changed to Mount Currie.
I believe you're
think.
right.
Did you have much to do with the native people when you were, did you teach a lot of them when you were
Quite
at
a
school?
number, yes.
Because they didn't have their own school then, did they?
Yes.
Oh, they did?
I'm not just sure when their elementary school was established. Do you remember, George, when people from Pemberton used to bring picnics and picnic along the Birkenhead and then maybe go to watch the sports at the reserve?
Yeah?
What were the sports? Horse racing? The stake race, whatever that was?
They used to have their horse races up and down the main street.
Yeah.
And they also had the evenings, or sometimes the second day, they had also rodeo grounds there where they had their steer riding and bronc riding and that kind of thing.
That's farther down, isn't it? The rodeo grounds?
It was sort of, as you went in to the main reserve, it would have been on your right.
Oh.
Going that way is where they had their chutes and stuff. But the races, of course, were on the main street.
There used to be some old barns there on the lake.
Yes, yep.
There's a lot of artists in Pemberton now. So there's a lot of interesting local art being produced.
Long ago, there were several people too. There was Rennie Ronan for one, and Pat Wilson. Pat used to see Pat sitting beside the road, chilly days in the fall, painting. Of course, Pat was lost overseas.
So they would have come in the 20s or 30s, the Wilsons?
Yes, probably. I think they were there when I first arrived.
And the Wilson Road was the original old road, wasn't it? It didn't go right through the straight
That's
stretch up there.
exactly right, yeah.
So their farm was over on the side there, on that side of the valley, or was it the whole area there?
I would think probably went right across to the mountain. Most of them did at that time.